Hey everyone, this is Jeff Lund, the host of the Mediocre Alaskan podcast. Make sure you rate and review so more people can stumble upon what you have. In addition to the podcast, my wife and I have been adding a bunch more about living in Southeast Alaska on our website, themediocrealaskan.com. There you can read about hunting, fishing, foraging, gardening, our adventures building our home, and order my book, A Miserable Paradise. Thanks again, and enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the Mediocre Alaskan podcast. I have Kelly Smith, head coach, K-High girls basketball team, region champs again. Is it 8 and 9 years? Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that, I think.
Yeah. Used to be one of your assistant coaches, so it's kind of fun to watch. Watch you guys be successful and kind of know what it's like, what the girls go through, and one of the things I think I like the most is when you are cutting down the nets, like the girls do it, and then you're not there. Like you're there, but you don't like go up the ladder. And so the picture on the front page of the Ketchikan Daily News is Shay holding up the net, which is that's a cool moment, and I think it's a good representation of the values you have on the kids and their hard work.
Yeah, it's just something, I think the first one, there was so much pressure. I remember cutting the nets down, and then the first one at home. But this is a kid game, and it's about the kids, and they do the work. And you said what they go through, that kind of rings a bell with me because people don't understand how hard it is to be with me. That for 4 straight months, a couple hours a day. Those girls, I enjoy. My favorite part is watching them cut down the nets. It's sit back. I don't need to get up there. It's definitely not about me.
Yeah, that's it has to be like that to a degree because otherwise it's just non-competitive silliness. So how did you, obviously a coach is a product of who you played for when you were a player and then the people you coach underneath if you were starting off as an assistant. So where did your influences come from? Was it back to the Jerry Carter days on Prince of Wales or?
Oh, it goes way before that. Jerry was just a senior year, and he did a nice job with, teaching me a different style of basketball. We played a lot faster with Jerry. He allowed mistakes a lot more than some of my early coaches. Doc Spink, my freshman year, where it was real. It was that serious grind out, you be in the right spot, every time. We were a decent group. We had some good seniors that ended up getting kicked off right before region tournament. But I kind of learned the real structure from him. And then the next year we weren't very good. I had Bill Wicker as a coach and didn't have a lot to work with. So it was more of that just intense. You're going to play as hard as you can at all times. And that's your only chance is to play hard.
Yeah.
And then Jerry we had some talent. And we just weren't as accountable for our mistakes. We, tons of turnovers and bad shots, but we won a lot of ball games.
Yeah. So you graduated in 95 or 4?
95.
95. That was my brother was a junior.
Yeah.
That's right. So you had some. I think I was the manager for the team that year. You guys went to state.
No, we didn't.
You guys lost to Heidelberg?
We did. If you remember,
Down at Heidelberg.
Yeah, we were. We were ranked 1 in state my entire senior year. We had some real success. Heidelberg, we had gotten them by like 35 points the week before regions. We went down to the region tournament, and the excitement and the energy and the effort, and they jumped on us. Jamie Edenshot jumped on us.
I remember that. Yeah.
He was a one-man press and. Made some mistakes, and then we made a run. I think we cut it. We were rolling finally in the third, fourth quarter, and somebody shut the lights out.
I remember that.
And it was those old halogen bulbs that take about 30 minutes to warm back up. And by that time, the momentum's gone, and heartbreak.
Yeah, I remember that. It just seems like, and this could be the older people looking back at their high school days, but there were so many quality teams that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Because you guys didn't go to state. That was just one bid. You had to win to go to state, right?
We had to win to go to state. There is a story, don't quote me on this, but I've heard it from some reliable sources, that a team was unable to make the state tournament so they invited us because we had been ranked 1 all year, and our superintendent turned it down because we didn't earn it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I didn't learn that till about 20 years later.
I think there was a similar thing the next year, because the next year we had a really good team, and my brother and all those guys were, beneath Heidelberg, beneath Craig, and then finally it was our year, beat Craig 3 times, and then region championship game, Anton breaks his leg. We're up by 1. Donnie Durgan scores his only 2 points of the game, so we lose. And again, I don't know if there was 8 teams that stayed or whatever, but with 5 regions, that means that 1 region can bring 2, and so we were invited, but the superintendent didn't go for it. But
he broke his leg in warm-ups, right?
Yeah, pregame warm-ups. Yeah, he stepped on someone's leg. That was unbelievable. I mean, Coach looked at me, and I was 5'2". I had this helmet of blonde hair. Looked at me, said, "Be ready." I'm like, "Oh, here we go." But yeah, it was a good game, back and forth, and then we lost. But I guess we could talk about that a little bit too. So, how do you deal with that disappointment? Like your senior year, you guys are good all year, and then it just culminates in nothing. Like, was it something that you look back on and you learned from and grew, and then you try to? It has impacted how you coach, or do you not think about it much?
I'm a basketball junkie, I guess. So, yeah, I think about it probably more than a healthy person should. Back in real time, basketball meant so much to us on the island. Every kid that played between Craig, Klawock, Heidelberg, Thorne Bay, it was the biggest thing going I just remember it was everything. Yeah. And it meant so much to those towns. It was our whole identity. And I didn't go to school for like 10 days after we lost that game. So I think I went for a lot of walks, and I think I went and fished the Thorne a little bit. And then drug myself back to school. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, like you said, it was everything. When you're on an island and each community has, what Craig have, 2,000 people, 2,500 people, and that's the biggest town by far. Klawock is the next biggest at, 900 at that time. It's a little bit less now, but you just have these 4 schools, and you're taking these long van trips. It's everything that you see in those Texas football movies, but you're on an island in southeast Alaska, and it's dark, and it's cold, and it's isolated, and that's all you have, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, and people don't understand. Like Craig, I think, was big enough to be 2A, and Thorne Bay might have been big enough at one point to be 2A, but they just kept that island the only 1A in Southeast, and it was phenomenal. You've got Thorne Bay was the logging community. They're all off. Everybody's off work that time of year, and then Craig and Klawock are the fishing communities, and there's no seining going on in November and December. Everybody was vested in what was going on in the gym. Yeah. Standing room only. And that went for elementary basketball games to middle school basketball games to the high school games. And then we all had men's league teams that were traveling around. So, you could play from the time you were in kindergarten to 65. You had a game coming up.
Yeah. I think if Sid Edenshaw suited up, he'd still be good for 20 and 20. Like, that guy played forever and good forever. Some of those old timers that go up to gold medal.
Sid humbled me at a very young age. He did.
I remember Rob Jackson coming in to play, and he just a load. Like, how do you deal with that? So you had Rob Jackson came in to scrimmage, because there was always the locals who would want to help out the high school team. And so Sam Peters and Ronnie Williams, I think, came by a couple times. But Rob Jackson, and so we just scrimmage, and they would just beat the heck out of us, and that was just the way it was.
Rob was intimidating. I moved from Thorne Bay to Craig the end of my junior year. So I get right into playing with all the guys, the men and stuff. And Rob, you had to earn Rob's respect. He would put you on the floor. He would talk a lot of trash. He'd beat on you. And then once you earned Rob's respect, we had a lot of fun. Yeah. We played gold medal together with Sam Peters on the Klawock Totems for Dewey Scan. Had a blast. Rob he had a different personality. He liked to put on this this front of being tough guy, but once he started getting goofy and letting down, oh my gosh, he'd just keep you rolling.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. Awesome dude. I remember the girls' programs weren't quite as competitive because the Kloak girls just kept winning state, or at least winning regions, because they had the 3 out of 4 years with Gene and Joyce. And Tina. And I don't know if it's true or not, but one year they only had, like, someone fouled out, and they were down to 4 players, and they still won.
It wasn't even, there was, and this is one of the philosophies I stole. I think, gosh, it would have been my 8th grade year, so 1990. Thorne Bay girls, the only team to win regions and go to state from Thorne Bay until a couple years ago when COVID hit and blocked those boys from going. Doc Spink was the girls' coach that year, and his philosophy was shoot the ball. And as soon as they crossed half court, somebody shot it, and then he had some girls go rebound it. And this is the only way you can compete with Kloak, because we were bigger than them, physically bigger, so they ended up winning. But there was just a tradition of Kloak basketball. Was it, what was the coach's name?
Jack Butler.
And he was like the godfather of basketball. It was like John Wooden walking in when he had his kids. They warmed up different. They shot different. They competed different. And then Gene coached after that for a while and carried that on. Mm-hmm. My senior year when we lost, gosh, what was it? Our girls had beaten Kloak like 3 times. First time ever. They were ranked 1 in state. Mm-hmm. We get down to the region tournament, region championship, and Louise Walcott was just phenomenal. I think she, and don't quote me exactly on the numbers, but I believe Kloak beat us 48-39 or something, and Louise had 42 or 44.
Yeah, she was unbelievable. That team with Gene and Joyce, there was Gene and there was Joyce and there was Mary and Tina, like that was just stacked.
Yeah.
But then when it was Louise, and she was the same grade as my brother, it was just the Louise Walcott show.
But there was a group between them that was Valerie Marvin, Katrina French.
That's right. Because Louise
Andrea
was a freshman, I think, when that crew was going through. Yeah, so that was the transition crew.
Yeah, so there was a crew between Gene and Joyce and Louise that were very, very good.
Yeah, Andrea went to Edgecombe after her junior year. I think she played 1 year at Edgecombe, maybe 2.
She at least played 2 for Kloak. She might have went after her junior. Yeah. Huh. And they were tough. They were beating on the girls' teams by a lot. There were teams when that Kloak had that were coming over and beating Ketchikan.
Yeah. So not to be the old guys that trash on the youth, but what do you think is the biggest difference between 1A then, or 1A and 2A, then versus now? We just had the 2A tournament here, and there's some good teams. It's always good. Petersburg was pretty solid. But back then, those were 3A teams, and it would be difficult outside of a really good team for 1A or 2A to compete with 3A. So what do you think is the biggest difference?
Well, it's not the biggest thing going in anymore like it used to be. It's the kids have other things with the internet and their cell phones and video games, and you throw COVID where we're locked up for a couple years. And I'm not saying it's any less special for the kids, mm-hmm. and it was a bigger deal back then, but I'm not kidding. It was the only thing we had going when we were younger. Yeah. So you were more vested, and it was across the board. And each community was bigger than it is now. Yeah. Those communities. Prince of Wales Island at one point had 10,000 people on it. It's under 3 right now.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. We're just not having the amount of kids to choose from. I mean, we had 65 in the high school when I was there, and now Kloak maybe has 30, 35, something like that. So you take 3 or 4 out, and that's just a big difference. We had 18 or 19 guys try out for the team when I was a senior.
Yeah.
You just had kids and bodies. And then, like you said, the only thing going, like you dealt with all the issues he had by going to the gym. I had that basketball hoop in our driveway, so I just shot. If I was upset, failed a test, or girl problems or whatever, just go outside and shoot. And there was always pickup games. The gym was always open. We'd play before school in the covered play area. you go outside the city gym in Craig on a Friday night, and there's 80 kids all around playing ball,
and 50 people inside waiting for the next game. That was some of the biggest things. Is just the opportunity for kids. My senior year, Jerry Carter was always he was the head of maintenance for Craig School District, so he was in charge of all the custodians. If there was a custodian in the building, we were allowed to be in the gym. And custodians worked till 1 a.m. So Dave was his name. He was a great guy. And we would just take turns bringing him a Snickers and a Pepsi. And we were allowed in the gym 7 days a week till 1 a.m.
Yeah. It seems like there was always some sort of story of a custodian that let kids in, and that's how they end up being successful. But now with like liabilities and with, there's always going to be a kid who, I can use this as a chance to get in the gym, and you're not going to play basketball. It ends up being chaotic, and you have to have a little bit more control over who's opening the gym. But yeah, it was just so much fun. I mean, Thorne Bay's gym, it was that when I first grew up until we opened the new gym in '93. We were in that little cage. I mean, it was like Gustavus size.
Oh, yeah. It was loud and cold, and it would take about 10 people to make it sound like you were in Cameron Indoor Stadium. Yeah. Bricks. Things hit the rim hard. I went in there. I can't remember. It's been about 10 years. I happened to be driving through Thorne Bay, and I think it's their maintenance shop now. But the door, right. Somebody was there, and I had to go peek in.
Let's check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cloak Gym's got character, and I remember playing in Craig on that rubber floor with bleachers on one side, and just a totally different feel. But the character in each one of the gyms was so interesting. And
I had a little nostalgia the other day. My nephews play for Craig, and they were playing Cloak, so I watched it. I mean, live streaming basketball in Cloak, Alaska.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and the gym looked good. The floor was in great shape, but I can just look at it, and I can look around the crowd. It's the same people that were cheering against us and booing us. And I still will run into somebody in Walmart, and they'll be like, I remember you. I hated you.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
Do you think that kids that play at the 4A level, do they have, I don't want to say disadvantage, but is their experience a little bit different because you're staying at a hotel in Juneau and you're flying on Alaska Airlines? You're not taking the ferry for days and being gone from school for 9 days to go play games?
Well, it's still an amazing experience. So it is definitely different. But in its own right, it's so unique, I remember we would go, 14-day road trip to Prince Rupert or...
Yeah. You guys always went to Rupert, and we would go, went to Cake, I think, a couple times.
Yeah. No, it's, we still 4A gets an amazing experience, and they used to ride the ferry a lot. Now the ferry just doesn't work for us. Yeah. And it used to be the housing, COVID has pretty much ended housing out.
Yeah.
So, but all these experiences that Southeast kids get are just unmatched.
Yeah. What's been the biggest difference or transition you've had to make with coaching girls, because you coach boys in Craig a little bit. Yeah. So coaching girls and then coaching at the 4A level.
Oh, well, girls are so much more literal. If you tell them to run this, they are looking for just that shot. Mm-hmm. To where we got to be like, hey, we're telling you to run this, but there's no perfect play in basketball. If there was, everybody would run it. Yeah. So you've got to be able to ad lib. And the teams now are a lot better at it. That when I first started, I was like, oh my gosh, we are not going to get this 15-foot chipper every single time we drew this play. Yeah. It's a goal, but boys, you had to beg them to take the shots you wanted. They were going to shoot as soon as they could.
Yeah.
And then going from the island, in the early 2000s, we had a PACE alternative school in Craig that was kind of really funding everything. So I didn't fundraise. If we fundraised, it was for a new travel gear or a new uniform. Mm-hmm. And coming here to the 4A level, we're responsible for $35,000 to $50,000 a year coming up with. So it's full time.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember another thing that you said when you started coaching here is that the main goal had always been just to beat Juneau. And one of the things that you brought in with this was, yeah, we want to beat Juneau, but we also want to be competitive at the state level. So how was it kind of changing the culture that, like, Juneau had won, 20 out of 22 region championships? So how was it building the culture of, hey, that's going to be us. We're gonna compete with Juneau. We're going to win regions, but we want to make some noise at the state level too.
Our very first region title, we got on the plane, and a longtime Ketchikan resident looked and said, "Hey, great season, coach. You beat Juneau at the region tournament." And I'm thinking to myself, "What do you mean? We got something pretty big going on next week." And it was for years. It was Juneau was winning a lot of regions, both on the boys and girls side. And if you got them once at home, and then you beat Sitka or Thunder Mountain now, and then you won a lot of ball games. And you played Met and Craig and Wrangell, and we really put an emphasis on getting our kids up north and playing in those arenas and those fields and making it comfortable. And it's been a lot of fun. Girls basketball, and I might be biased, I think is in a much better place statewide than boys basketball. There was numerous. I mean, we got girls in the WNBA. We've got high-level Division I girls right now in the state, or all over the country. With Alyssa Peely, Pac-12 Player of the Year, one of the preseason Player of the Year nominee. She eliminated us from the state tournament 3 times. Mm-hmm. And Ruthie Hebert, All-American at Oregon, won a WNBA championship with the Chicago Sky this year.
But her last high school game was a loss to K-High.
It was.
We held her to 40 and 28 or something like that?
37 and 19, I think. But we won the game by 11.
Won the game? Yeah, that was fun.
So there was, I think that year we were talking, there were 7 Division I girls in that state tournament. And so that's why our girls are competing at a very high level right now that a lot of time we don't get credit for. I just watched the NCAA selection show, Olivia Davies for Hawaii. They're in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, she was super good. But that year that was a diamond in Wasilla, like 2 or 3 years in a row, and then Wasilla kept them from it. Olivia was, I don't know who that other guard was. But then the year that Diamond overcame them, Olivia was just, she had the bad back.
Yeah.
Was just battling. But, I mean, what are you going to do against Alyssa Peely? And then Hajdukovic was there, too. Like, that was just some really good basketball.
Yeah. No, and girls basketball hasn't dropped off. There's numerous, the CIC's down a little bit, but ACS, who's in the number 1 seed in 4A right now, their point guard is top 10 in America as a junior.
Yeah.
So... And that, I keep getting blasts from the past, from the old days on the island. And I think of like some of the players that were just the upper echelon. And Matt Carl keeps coming up to me. And the reason why I've been thinking of Matt lately was he's a UAF alum, and UAF right now is in the Sweet 16 of the Division II National Tournament. Matt was a kid on our island where he was just the cool cat. Yeah. I mean, he walked in the gym, his clothes fit better than ours. His hair laid better than ours. He just played. He walked in with this confidence and this aura, and then he goes up and I remember I think he got dunked on by Trajan Langdon in the state championship because he played his senior year in Juneau. I'd never been so happy in my life. I'd never seen Matt fail at anything. He was the man.
Yeah.
And then his daughter played for that Diamond team that we played, and so we run into Matt up there. Yeah. He's still the coolest guy in Anchorage.
Yeah, still got that look. Yeah, he and I were talking a little bit, and we just talk about the quality of basketball. So the best guy on the island ends up being like the best player at Juneau that goes to the state championship game against Trajan Langdon. Like, that just shows the quality of basketball that was on the island. That doesn't mean that any 1A kid back in the 90s was interchangeable at the 4A level, but that was the type of ball.
Yeah, no, Matt was good. If you ever played against, Matt, he was phenomenal. But there were a lot of kids that transitioned right over here. I mean, Jason Bluebaum was 6'5", 6'6" kid that not overly skilled, but he came here and played his senior year at K High, and he hit a game winner versus Juneau in overtime. There's a lot of those stories where a kid goes and plays at the next level and does really well. She moved over Ashley Huffine when you were with us. She was a great 1A player, and she did really well for us at the 4A level.
All conference. Going back to buzzer beaters a little bit, how do you coach? I can't think of any time you've been on the wrong side of it. I'm thinking Elias buzzer beater in overtime. Was it double overtime against
Double overtime against East Anchorage.
You've got there was AJ had a buzzer beater up at the Diamond Tournament. You got
Soldotna.
Shay's buzzer beater. What's the locker room like after a winning buzzer beater and then a losing buzzer beater? For you as a coach, like what do you say, or do you not even remember?
I guess it just is based on the situation. I don't remember anybody walking us off in a buzzer beater situation. I had a few that I closed my eyes on and they bounced off the rim. Shay's was a tough one because there was a lot of emotion that year, and there was we had seniors hurt. Freshman came in. Shay was a freshman. I looked at Shay right after that, and I said, this is not going to be your defining moment in high school as a freshman, making that shot. But it was such a big moment. We just enjoyed it, and we enjoyed it for as long as we possibly could until we had to get ready for the Friday game.
Yeah.
On the losing side of that, you just hope it doesn't end your season.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that buzzer beater the other night against the boys, that was the end of the season. And if it's not the end of the season, you just find a way to move on.
Yeah. Jake's junior year, I was thinking about this as I was driving in. They lost in the buzzer beater to Juneau, and K-High was the only team that had beaten Juneau from the state that year, and Juneau went on to win state easily against Diamond. So you lose the state semifinal game against Juneau, and then didn't they lose the third place game on a buzzer beater against East? Wasn't it back-to-back buzzer beaters?
Well, and if you remember, Juneau boys won at the buzzer against Bartlett in the first round to even play Ketchikan.
That's right. Double buzzer beaters.
They won the quarterfinal and the semifinal at the buzzer that year. And then our boys, gosh, what was it? They started out.
They were up 18 or something.
Yeah, started out, and then I think East got them, hit a big shot right there at the end.
Crazy. But that was Jake's junior year. And then his senior year, though, ended up with a nice win for third place against
East.
Against East, yeah. So how was a father afterwards? Like, you're a coach. Like, did you give Jake like a coach talk, father talk, or just whatever you need, man? I'm here if you need me.
With Jake, it was just finding out what he needed to hear. And you could really tell with his body language when he walked out of the locker room what he needed to hear. Whether it was, oh, man, you're amazing, or, oh, man, I can't believe you didn't play more, or, whatever he needed to hear, we tried to find what to tell him. I was never in a situation as a father coach to just enjoy what he had going on, because I was always wrapped up in something else we were coaching. I think that one we won up there, one of my favorite ones, 5 games in 5 days. You were on the staff.
Oh, man.
And so we beat Thunder Mountain on a Tuesday, lost to Juneau by 5 on Wednesday, but they shot like 40 free throws.
Yeah.
So we knew we had a chance. Beat Thunder Mountain on Thursday.
I wasn't even sure we would show up against Thunder Mountain. I thought we might be so just or out of it or defeated that we wouldn't. I was a little nervous, but we showed up.
I think Brittany just said, "Oh yeah, we're not losing this game." If I remember right, Brittany scored like 16 in the first half or something, and just I got you, coach.
Yeah.
And then Friday was just an amazing game. That's when they were going to try to make it sound like we didn't have a timeout, and we got a deflection to win it with 1.7 seconds to go, I think. And then Coach Lund here and I are sitting in a coffee line, And we're in the worst rental car you can imagine, by the way.
It smelled like gas. Smelled like gas and felony.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I told Coach, I said, what's your dream scenario tonight? And he's like, I want to win by 17, 18 points and finish with the bench. And I tell that story to all my teams. That group pretty much told us to sit down and shut up that Saturday night game. And they just took control, and we won the game by 18 and finished with our bench.
Yeah. That actually reminds me, because earlier that season, we were 1-4 against them in the regular season. And we had them beat up at the Diamond Tournament.
Yes.
And we turned it over with 5-6 seconds left on an inbounds pass at half court. And I don't know who it was, went coast to coast, and we lost that game. So I do remember that now. But, yeah, they just – Hannah's defense, that was quite the game. That deflection night when AJ got the deflection, I don't know how she did because she was guarding the ball, but she was tiny and she got that deflection. But Pusic had those 2 monster threes from Steph Curry range.
Yeah.
And so, that was.
But that tournament was one where we won that Saturday night game and we cut down the nets. And going back to Jake, I just went to the crowd and I kind of let down and I sat in the K-High crowd. And it was that crazy game because the Friday night our boys ended up losing that game where the lights went out. So that Saturday night game, it was a crazy game, and Jake got that steal and dunk, and I lost it as a parent. I mean, I probably looked like a 10-year-old jumping around, screaming, and they ended up losing that one.
Yeah. Well, we were on top of the bleachers. There was no room. Like, we had to scoot people away just so we could fit the girls' basketball team in there afterwards. It was standing room only. Crazy, and Juneau has a pretty big gym.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And you and I, though, we grew up in standing room only.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the biggest thing in Craig was Craig went live stream in the 93, 94, 95 seasons where you could watch it throughout their community on the Craig cable, and they would actually have a camera or a big screen outside in the foyer because the gym was too full.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that closed circuit TV or something like that or whatever. Yeah, that was crazy. But, you just had practice. I'm sure you're hungry, so I'll let you go. I'm going to talk to Krupa here in a little bit. Talk a little Sitka 3A basketball, and then his daughter's going off to where? She was at UAF, right? Is she transferring somewhere else?
She's graduated. She just had her
Already.
senior night at UAF. Oh, yeah, she got to play 5 years. She got an extra year with COVID. So she's, I can't remember if she's a wildlife biologist or something along those lines. So she's out in the real world now. She comes and watches us every time we're up north. Remind Krupa, he'll love this, of our those years. I think you might have been right before you either joined us or you might have just joined us. We weren't very good yet, hadn't won a region tournament. We came out and unintentionally, the third quarter, we're playing Sitka down here. My group just starts stalling, and he's got a good, solid group. So we stalled the entire third quarter, and his kids just kept fouling. Coach, they're stalling. He's like, it's the third. So we ended up beating them like 38-33 or something.
That's funny. Yeah, I'll remind him of that. That's good.
Well,
Kelly Smith, again, thanks for being on here. Good luck at state next week. You got some great kids on the team. I have most of them in journalism class. So, there you go. Thanks again.
All right. Hey, thanks.